Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Level Up Podcast. Today, I am joined by one of my mentors and our guest for today, Mr. Sargent. So before we get into a quick introduction about him, I just want to briefly discuss what our overall theme of the episode is going to be. Customer segments are vital to any business. You need to be able to understand your target market and what your predicted customers actually care about in order to create an effective marketing strategy for your business. So thank you, Mr. Sargent, for joining us. You want to go ahead and give us a quick introduction before we get into the episode?
Yes, thank you, Zane. I'm very honored to be here tonight with you. So I started in the small business community about 15, 20 years ago. I still have ownership in a hotel, a health club, and a restaurant. And about 12, 13, 14 years ago, I decided to step away from the day-to-day operations and start my own business consulting practice. And to really get myself started to make sure that I had the right idea in place, I reached out to probably 100, 150 different businesses around the United States. And within my first 8 months of being open, I had clients in 36 states. And so that's where I am today, besides helping you and the DECA team with the Master Plan Roundtable and this podcast.
Perfect. I love it. And then can you just quickly briefly touch upon market research, where that fell into your overall business plan, how you really cultivated that part of the business?
Well, I was very confident what I could bring to anybody's business. And so I needed to make sure that what I was going to offer, there was really a need for it. So that's why I reached out to these 100, 150 businesses that I knew from my previous 20 years in the health club and hotel industry. And so I, for the most part, when I told them what I was thinking about doing, I wanted to hear their thoughts. But then at the end of each conversation, I asked every one of them, would they hire my services? And so I did that specifically because I wanted to make sure that before I really left on my own, that I had enough business in place to keep me moving forward with this business plan.
Perfect. And then when you, just transitioning quickly here into customer segments, so when you gathered the research, did you figure out your customer segments then, or was it really just a validation of here's my demographic, this is exactly what the age limit is? How did you really align the two?
Well, because I'd been in the health and fitness industry for the previous 20 years, over those 20 years, I had met plenty of business owners, managers, and other employees. And so I've kept in touch with them for those 20 years. So when I decided to break out, I specifically talked to them as if we've known each other for the previous 20 years, and I wanted to know what their thoughts were. But at the same time, I let them know what I could bring to their table, and then I asked for the sale.
And then just taking a step back really quickly, I want to double click on something you said earlier. So this idea of where do you start when it comes to researching customer segments? Is it dependent on what your business does, or does it always stay the same? How did you just go about that evaluation process?
Well, every business should, if they're going to be a locally owned business and taking care of locally owned or local residents, then yes, they need to, go to some type of demographic report and make sure that there's a plenty of want for the for that level of. But then at the same time, they also need to use that same report and look to see how many other businesses competing against you at the same time are. So you're not only looking for the market research, but you're also looking for the competitive edge as well.
And then out of all of that information that you just briefly touched upon, is there one specific aspect that you value more than any other, or are they pretty much weighed the same across?
Well, that really depends on what your business is going to be. If you're going to be a business for young adults, then that's really all you care about. How many young adults you have in that general vicinity. If you're going to be talking families, what does the families look like? If you're going to be, directed towards families that you're going to have a higher scale, do they have the means to support your business? So really it does depend on what your specific segment is, and then really what you're looking to deliver to them, and can they literally afford your services, and will they be repeat customers?
Were you always into business analytics, or was this sort of a something that just came with being a small business owner?
No, I've always been in the analytics. I love the metrics, and I, I don't like to play the odds. I like going down to, the card table and playing a couple games of blackjack here and there. But I always want them on my favor, the odds on my favor. So before I go out on my own, or before I let a client of mine go out on their own, I want to make sure that we have enough of the metrics in place to make sure that it is the right business plan.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And I know you talked a bit earlier about demographics and psychographics. So what does all of that data mean, right? If I'm going through and I'm a first year DECA student, or I'm a new business owner, and I'm looking at all of these different terms, what does it all mean in terms of just interpreting demographics, psychographics, geographics?
Well, it gives you a complete picture of what your business could experience, good, bad, or indifferent. And so it's all very necessary, because from time to time, we all have that great laid out plan at first, and then all of a sudden we realize we're missing a key aspect of our business that we might be able to join, have this other segment join our, our business plan. And so we always need to make sure that we always keep our eye on other opportunities. But if you know what the whole landscape looks like,
Mm-hmm.
you're always going to have a better opportunity. And then it might not really be an opportunity for your specific business, but one of your vendors or one of your alliance partners might be that perfect. So you might be able to tie in your services and their services to give a more complete package to your audience.
Yeah, no, I like with this the entire complete package, right? It's sort of a holistic review, right? You're not just
Yes.
giving, okay, here's the demographics, but you're giving them all the information. That way they can go ahead and move forward with it. So how do you research this? Were there specific, I guess, in terms of the product survey, or in terms of just the market research survey, what did you do to gather things like occupation, geographic location, age, income, and then like on the flip side, the psychographics? How did you gather all of this information?
Well, if you're a startup and you have a very tight budget, you can go to Google and check out any demographic report for whatever area you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of small businesses, that's what I'd recommend. But there are market research firms out there that will, for a hefty fee, they will give you all those numbers you need, and almost to the penny on how much they spend every week, every month, every year. And so if you have an unlimited budget and you have the opportunity to take advantage of that, I would say that's the best route to go. But if you don't, like this year, this was the year that we did, every 10 years, the United States does their census report.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, if you go to any demographic report off of Google, it's going to be somewhat between, 1 and 9 years old. And so this new, U.S. Census report is going to come out next year. That's going to be everything up to date. But if you can't wait that long, you can go to most other, Google searches for any demographic report. But if you're going to stay local, go to your local chamber of commerce. They will have everything pretty much up to the date too, with everything that's going on within their community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the Chamber of Commerce, I love that you touched upon that. I know for me, when I was going through the initial small business, it was a bit of a dark horse thing. I didn't know what type of overall value that it could actually provide me. So I definitely think a lot of people just don't recognize that early on enough. Are there any other resources you would hint to?
Just the local community. Go out and spread yourself, talk to all your friends, your families, and just ask a lot of what if questions,
Mm-hmm.
and just see if it'll fly or not in their mind.
Yeah.
And then, if you're going to go that far, I would practice your closing skills too and say, okay, what if? And if they think, I think that's a great idea, great, you want to be my first customer, and see, what it's going to take to now get that potential prospect to be a customer. And, and so many times in small business, we do the right research, or we do some research, but we forget to find out, will they actually buy from us? What are we missing? We
Mm-hmm.
might have done all the great research, but they just don't like our product or the way we're going to deliver that product. So if you're going to have the time to do that third option, ask for the sale and see what people say. And don't be afraid to hear the word no, I'm not going to buy. But then if you hear that, ask why not? And what do I need to do to change my delivery or change my product or my service a little bit to get you to buy?
Yeah. So this feedback loop, right, of gathering
Absolutely.
end users, and then if you don't have end users, just prompting those intentional questions. Why aren't you going to buy this product? How can I ensure that you purchase this product?
Yep. Because sometimes when you do hire that marketing research firm, they're already going to get paid for you. So they're going to tell you what you want to hear, what they want you to hear, maybe not what you really need to hear. So just be careful on that.
Mm-hmm. And then just in terms of a niche topic here. So if my business is very focused on cycling, for example, and I'm selling this specific part for a bicycle, and the overall market size isn't very huge, how do I get into some of that more niche information?
Well, then you need to figure out what's it going to take to get your product to other areas of the county, of the state, of the Northwest, your region, or the whole United States. So you need to figure out what that's going to look like. And is it going to be, do you have it properly priced? Because if it's all going to be local business, you don't have all the overhead of getting it sent out and mailed, shipped to other parts of the country. And so you need to make sure that whatever your price is for local, whenever you start adding all those additional costs to it, that someone's willing to pay for that.
Mm-hmm. And then, so just in terms of what we were discussing a bit earlier, right, with this idea of gathering all of that information, going to just multiple sources to truly understand the overall market size and customer segments. After you've gathered all of that data, how do you then simplify it into one specific target market? Do you start off locally? Do you go national, global? How do you really just get that down?
Well, it really depends on what your product or service is. But number one, you need to make that first sale, and you need to start finding out, okay, who's going to buy from me right now? Because it's great to open up your doors, but if you have no cash flow coming in, you can't pay your bills. So what I recommend is that you get the doors open with a certain segment of that market, and then as you start to sell to that market, you should always be doing some surveying to both your current customers and to customer or to prospects that haven't bought yet, and find out what's it going to take to get you in my doors and to be a paying customer. And then that will lead you down, okay, here's my main segment. This is where I'm going to focus most of my attention to. But I also know that there's these other two outlying segments that might not be my biggest money makers, but I don't want to forget about them.
Mm-hmm. And then just when we talk about secondary and tertiary markets, do you think it's ethical to target uninformed customers who might not know about the product, or even give them some misinformation to lead them to buying the product?
I do, because they might not be the ideal customer, but they might know a handful that are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so the more you get the word out that you are controlling, that's the key. And so you need to have the right survey in place or the right questions in place to make sure that you're getting good, honest feedback that's going to be relevant to what decisions you're trying to make. So you really need to make sure that you don't give out just a generic question that could go 100 different directions. Mm-hmm. You need to be so specific, so that way you know exactly, okay, here's my audience, and this is what they're actually looking for, and my product will actually take care of that, or my service will actually take care of their needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like both part of that. So I mean, having closed-ended questions, so it's very simplistic for the audience to go ahead and narrow down if this is something that can actually provide value to them. And then the other thing you tapped into, which is just getting the product in front of people's hands, right, or in front of people's eyes, or finding some way to really incorporate it. That way they can take a look at it, feel it, whatever. Because after they've had the initial encounter with the product, you are much more likely to have that end sell, as opposed to not having them even see or just be knowledgeable about the product heading in as well.
Yes. So true.
And then in terms of one of my favorite parts of business, I love loyalty, I love referral programs, all of these different things that allow you to gain recurring payments and returning customers. How do you use all of this information after you've made the first couple sales to really go back out after those high value customers and get them to come back and spend some more money within the product or service?
Well, every one of my business plans that I've ever written for myself or for my customers or my clients, I always have a strategic plan in place to start cultivating the referrals and back into the business. And so that's always number one, because I don't want to just have a customer once. I want to make sure that they're happy enough that I've satisfied their needs, whatever their needs was, that they are going to go tell their friends, family, coworkers, whatever. But then I'm always going to get their information from them. So I'm always going to stay in touch with them somehow, some way, to make sure that they're still happy with the product or service. And do we need to maybe have you come back in and let's talk a little bit more, maybe show you some new things that I have on my shelf and stuff like that. But I always want to, build that community amongst us to where the community is always welcoming new patrons to my business from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love what you talked about in terms of community there. I think a lot of people don't understand the value of having the business community and not only a community of people who purchase your product, but then also other people you can go and talk to. So do you find value in having individual conversations with people who are part of your target market to just bridge some sort of gap between quality relationships and purchase, or even just get to know your overall customer base a bit more?
Well, next to knowing all your key metrics, my favorite role in being a business owner is talking to the customers. And when my staff sees me actually having conversations that are relevant to that customer's needs and wants, I'm automatically showing them, my other employees, that it's okay to have those kind of conversations. So the more that we can not be robots and actually be people talking to people, having conversations that's not just like a questionnaire where I'm asking you 15 questions and I'm writing the answers down, but we're actually having a conversation. That's going to lead, number one, to that better and more relevant community that everybody wants to be a part of. Like at our health club, for example, Zane, I have 63 competitive businesses out there within the area of my health club. We all have treadmills. We all have the same 5-pound dumbbell. So how do I separate myself from the other 63 competitors? It's all about that sense of community. I don't want to just sell them a membership to have access to the treadmill or to the dumbbell or to whatever. I want to put them in a program first and foremost, because a program means there's other people. There's going to be someone on my staff leading that program. So all of a sudden, from day one, we are putting them into that other segment of that community within the community.
And then for people who might be doing startup business plan or something on those that's within the DECA community specifically, do you recommend anything that they write on their business plan or when they're pitching their entire product to the judges come January, things that they should talk about in terms of incorporating that community so they do increase revenue time over time?
Yeah, be specific on who your ideal customer is. That's first and foremost. There might be 5 or 6 different segments of the customer base that's going to be a customer one way or another, but who's your ideal customer? And focus on that person first and foremost. You still want to list the other 3 or 4 or 5, whatever it may be, but really have a detailed plan on how you're going to get that ideal customer in your doors or buying your products immediately.
Perfect. And then
because at the end of the day, you're looking for funding. And so really that's what the financial institution is looking for. Do you know who your ideal customer is? And are they going to pay your rates? And how often are they going to pay your rates? So really, that's as specific as you need to be with that business plan.
Perfect. And then just transitioning that into presentation again. So, right, we just talked about events and ensuring that you can present that information. But then when we talk about presenting the research or the figures charts, graphs, tables, whatever it may be. How important do you think this is, in terms of incorporating it with customer segments as opposed to just listing out age, colon, and then the numbers? Why should other people within DECA just incorporate some of these charts to really allow it to flow better?
Well, the bottom line is it tells everybody that you've taken the time to do your due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
And so if when you're getting through those and listing all those demographics and typographics, everything that you're looking for to make sure that you have everything you need to know to make sure that your business plan is full and complete. That's really what you're looking for. Not everyone in those psychographics, not everyone in those demographics are going to be your ideal customer, but at least you know exactly what the big pool looks like and what part of that big pool that you're specifically looking for. It just shows that you care. You're going overboard to find out really what the whole body of water looks like and where you might go with your plan.
And then just within that realm, testimonials, quotes, just any type of customer detail that you can provide, I think is very valuable. Do you have a different perspective, or how should people just frame that, whether it be small business owners that have done market research or even some of the DECA students?
Well, you can never go wrong with positive testimonials, and so number one, if you've got positive testimonials, share them. And to me, that should be a whole marketing campaign all by itself, is sharing what people have said good about you. But in real life, you're never going to satisfy everybody, and there's going to be some negative testimonials. And so in that business plan, you should outline, okay, if by chance we fall short on our level of customer service that we are trying to provide, this is how we're going to take care of it. So that way you're letting everybody know that you're not a dreamer that's just going to be perfect with every customer, because it's not going to happen. You are going to fall short with someone's expectations. That's just natural. But how you deal with that is going to be very, very important, because one bad customer can tell a lot of people. What's the old saying right now? That one unhappy person is going to tell 20, one happy person is going to tell one. So you can do the math real fast in your head. You gotta nip that negative person real fast and get them back on your side, and don't let your ego get caught up to the fact that you're saying, oh, he doesn't, he's just 1 in a million. Don't worry about it. I might be that really bad 1 in a million that you don't want to deal with.
I want to just elaborate that, just elaborate on that a bit more. So just talking about customers, whether it be just how do you stop yourself from being too idealistic or too cynical about your target market and whether people will actually care about your business or product?
Well, number one, if you're going to write out a business plan, you have to check your ego in the other room when you're writing that business plan, because so many times, all your friends, your family, your coworkers, they're going to talk you up and they're going to make you feel very, very good, to where sometimes you might not have that true sense of reality. And so when you take everything that all your cheerleaders from every parts of your life have given you, you need now to put that in the other room and now look at all your key metrics, with an open mind and not a jaded mind, because all your true friends say, hey, you're going to knock it dead, but they know nothing about business. So what do they really know? Of course, I want my cheerleading to be my cheerleaders for the rest of my life, but if they're really not business people, can I count on what they're saying to me? And so many times I've seen small businesses come and go because their family, their friends, everybody said, oh, you got to start this business. You'll be great at it. Well, great, but no one here knows how to run a business. So I'm good at my trade, but I'm not good at business. Before you know it, I failed.
Yeah, I love that perspective. And then just adding on to that, how do you know whether or not your business based on your target market is sustainable? And then how do you grow after you've understood that it's sustainable?
Well, you need to put together the numbers in your business plan, and what's it really going to take to be a sustainable business first and foremost. And sustainable in my eyes, it does mean paying myself and having a profit at the end of the period. All right. So many times I've talked to people who say, oh yeah, I'm very profitable, I'm very sustainable. Great. How much do you pay yourself? Well, I haven't paid myself yet. Well, then you're not profitable and sustainable, because sooner or later you have to pay your bills, your own personal bills. And so you've got to deal with those numbers. Okay. So now once you put all those numbers together on what you think all of your expenses are going to be, including your payroll and including something for profit, how much do I need to sell? And now you go backwards to that, that demographic report and say, okay, I do have enough people in this area in my segment that is going to be able to sustain. If I deliver exactly how I promised to them, that I do have enough people that's going to keep coming back over and over, and I have enough people that they can refer to that is going to keep my business going. But I have to know what those numbers are first and foremost to be able to make that decision.
Perfect. Before I get into my last question, which is a little teaser into the next episode, I just want to thank you again, Mr. Sargent, for your time and not only for that, but just for your 2 cents in terms of what customer segments entail, as well as how the overall scope of market research really plays a role within our business.
I would never miss this with you, Zane. So thank you for letting me be your guest speaker.
Of course. So when we talk about next steps and using this information to inform your overall marketing plan, are there any tips you have for people to transition from here are the customer segments to I should possibly alter my marketing plan to focus more on social media or newsletters? Just how does that work?
Well, technology changes every nanosecond, and for whatever reason, every once in a while we get a pandemic. So you always have to be flexible with everything you do to make sure that you are able to go to that next step without missing any opportunity. So if you get so rigid into your systems and into your business plan and you lose that flexibility, you may be losing quite a few opportunities that might be knocking at your door, but you're just no one's there to answer it. So always have a nice, firm written business plan, but at the same time, always do your yoga, go to your yoga classes and stay flexible, because opportunities will come. Either positive opportunities will come, or like the COVID-19 opportunity came. And so some people really made out well with the restrictions, and other people didn't. They weren't flexible enough to pivot on their own.
Exactly, right? It's all about understanding the overall market, understanding the scope, and then just devising a plan to move forward with it. Because regardless of whatever happens, it's goes back to, I think, something we talked about within our episode, which is controlling what you can control. You can't control some of the market implications, but you can control the overall plan around it.
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect. I think that wraps up to our third episode. Thank you to everyone who listened in. The team and I are really, really excited to move forward with the Level Up podcast, and we look forward to sharing everything we know about how to write a business plan with the DECA and small business community. Take a second to follow us at Level Up Podcast _ for updates and find weekly episodes on the BD Media Facebook and YouTube pages. We hope to see you next week, where we will be talking about using market research and then discussing some points of this week's program with discussing viable marketing plans. Thanks again, and we can't wait to compete in DECA this upcoming season with you.